Thank you, Wendy, commissioners, Misty, and all of you for attending. We've prepared a 20-minute presentation, and then we can open up for Q&A after that. Our agenda today is just to say where on this multi-year process we are, near the home stretch of a plan that is actually something that never ends. It's about guiding the next 17 years as our time horizon. And we'll walk you through the document that's now available online that will be guiding those next years, and then we'll open up for Q&A. So a diagram of what this process has been that started back in phase 0, planning to plan, and our phase 1, our master plan framework, which went to council and had an excellent reception for it. Of course, one of the reasons it took so long was we had that pandemic in the middle, which meant we couldn't actually visit libraries and see how they were operating. And so we've been, for just shy of 2 years, doing our phase 2, the master plan, and getting a lot of input. This document, draft document that's in front of the commissioners, is online. Should be available, I believe, in each of the library locations as well to borrow and look at there. Can be downloaded and should be viewed. And most of all, this is an interactive document, so it's in draft form. There is a link on the library's website to go a survey, and just very simple questions. Do you have any comments, questions that you want us to look at? We've endeavored to be very comprehensive, but this is a huge organization. There are a lot of aspects of it, so we welcome comments. And so the process that we've been going through, so I was last before you with my colleagues on June 14th, and the team is very envious that when the dates of the commission shifted a week, it conflicted with some of the teams. So my colleagues, Jill Ayers and Carson Block and Vicki and Nicole, and part of my team, are all here in spirit, and I get to have fun with it. So when we were here on the 14th, I was concluding the whole community outreach process. We shared a lot more information of what we heard. We then went and got a lot more input from all the other city departments, and they were fantastic meetings. Raul, thank you very much for helping facilitate those. In addition to the ones mentioned here, we had IT and sustainability and access got great input. So today, we're at the commission, we're in public review, and I believe the actions before you were to endorse this going to the Community and Neighborhood Services portal to get to council, which is our final goal in November. And I think there's an opportunity for the commission to provide, as is customary in these type of master plans, to give an endorsement to the electeds. So it takes a village, it takes a city. All of you, more than 11,000 participants have given and helped shape the recommendations here. How many of you had been in a community listening session? So fantastic. Those are friends. Our friends were instrumental in getting out turnout for that, and that in-person dialogue that we had with folks really helped shape this. And so that was really fantastic. And we want to continue to get the word out for it. Like, it's not done. There's always opportunities for that. And of course, it's great that people can participate online. They can show up to a meeting, but a lot of folks who the library is so important to don't have the luxury of being able to come out to a meeting or have the technological means for it. And so we partnered with University of San Diego School of Leadership and Education Sciences and Misty to really make sure we heard for and incorporated the voices of underrepresented voices into the plan. And so the listening tour, we have a show of hands of the members of our project management team here, who gave up weeks and weeks and weeks of evenings, months of going to all the branches and multiple sessions and central sessions, predominantly in English, but other sessions predominantly in Spanish here. And we just were gifted with lots of wonderful input, which we've attempted to really reflect in this recommendation, in this draft document. Okay, so I'm going to give you the whirlwind tour of what this document has and as it is organized. So first of all, the phase one approach, the framework as we called it, created the vision for the San Diego Public Library for the future. And it has the 4 E's here: equitable, experiential, everywhere, and effective. And I'll describe briefly what each of those are. So being experiential, it used to be that a library was about about commodities, just borrowing books. It's about the experiences you get to enrich your life, your family's life, your community's life. And so we do that by making sure that those experiences are inviting, attractive, and appealing. The buildings have to be safe and well maintained. And the library of today is so much different than the library of generations ago, and it's going to continue to evolve with all sorts of new technologies and patterns of use. So it has to be flexible and adaptable. And our future, we're an optimistic organization here, looking to make a brighter future, but there are challenges we all face, and climate change, being resilient and sustainable. San Diego Public Library is on the forefront of thinking about that with the other city departments for your facilities, but also about how you are a gateway to community members to engage with topics to help us improve our lives, to make ourselves all more sustainable and resilient. Equity is absolutely essential to our planning going forward, and it's about providing equitable access to library space, and that was a big influence that we'll share with some of the technical aspects of our planning methods. You are a growing city, which is wonderful and causes growing pains as well. One of the lessons we've learned through designing and planning hundreds of libraries around the country and coordinating with peers are that larger libraries are more flexible and more adaptable over time. And so we're recommending those. And the library shouldn't be going it alone. It's about aligning with community needs and priorities here going forward. So a lot more we'll say about equity. So being everywhere. So you have a great geographic spread in the city, and we will be talking about how we want to be everywhere, but we don't want to be, each library doesn't have the need to or can't really functionally be everything to everyone. But we look at how the library works as a system, and people use multiple libraries, and by being located in various, having multiple libraries convenient to customers and patrons, you have access to all sorts of resources. So we look at the different types of spatial resources that are there so that people can enjoy them. Effective operations, that E is we have limited tax dollars, and part of this plan recommends additional operating funds going forward and generous operating funds. And so I know that's one of the big things the commission here advocates for. But as population grows, it isn't necessary that, and you expand facilities, you don't have a one-to-one correlation of increased staffing costs. You have to have ways to be effective in these larger libraries that we're recommending, that have been your tradition as you've been expanding your facility footprint. You can operate a larger library more effectively and provide those resources without the same rate of increase of staffing costs. And so in our interactions, when we come up with a plan, is the first question we're going to say is, when's my library going to get this bathroom fixed, or when am I going to get my new library, where we'll share all the projects in progress. And we would love to say, hey, here is exactly which project is going to come next after the ones that are under construction. I know you would love to do that. We're available to you to help plan that, but it all really depends on the funding. And so there isn't a clear funding stream to make all this happen. The city has worked hard in allocating CIP and the general fund, and the foundation and grants have been instrumental in leveraging those already city-controlled dollars to have a bigger impact. So we talk about the principles of that implementation here. And so for those of you I'm sorry we can't say when your project's going to happen, but it talks about there are site criteria, and how even the last bit about updating the master plan is that we like to say that these documents here are not a roadmap where you're going to say, go here and in 6 months you're going to turn right and go forward. It's more like a GPS. We know what our vision and our goal is, and as new opportunities arise, or constraints or other things where ideally good opportunities for additional funding will be able to implement the policies of this plan. So finally, to get into the sort of the thicker part of this document now is all of the branch recommendations, section 9 in here. And I still love this document to show with a snapshot of your current facilities that each of these pictures are approximately proportionate to the square footage of your whole system. So of course the central library is half of it. You have your larger libraries and you have your what we'll call tiny, strong but mighty libraries. And so, let's see, computer's falling asleep. Battery is low. Uh-oh, power came out. There we go. Let's see if that goes on. There we go. Okay, so the master plan again, it's not one size fits all. Each of your facilities are different. We leveraged our own service assessments of it, got community input, staff input, and also leveraged the city had commissioned a facility condition assessment, a detailed engineering review of the different building components and building systems, envelope, roof and walls, doors, windows, power, lighting, heating. Those were an invaluable tool and expensive to create, and they're from 2016. I said, oh, is it out of date? I was asking to Raul about that. Do we need to update it? He says, unfortunately, we haven't done much of those improvements since then, so it still ends up being a good snapshot. So the levels of improvement that we're looking at are starting with the sort of new construction or relocation. So where we have a existing building that is not worth, it's past its prime and the site is good enough, you can replace it on site, or like San Carlos, you can, if you're fortunate enough to be able to acquire land next door to expand that or move to a park, that becomes a relocation. And there are a number of net new libraries that are proposed here as the recommendation. So those are the sort of big shinier things you're gonna see, but let's not, you have wonderful libraries, and the most sustainable library is an existing one that you can renovate, and many of them are suitable for expansion. And other ones that are good bones, still work well, but they're reflecting a service model from maybe 20 years ago or 30 years ago here. And we say those are like the HGTV series, like you can come in and do a little makeover of them at lower cost. You don't have to take care of all the bones for it, so makeovers are a good thing to do as well. There's a lot of capital maintenance, we'll talk more about that too. And this plan says over the course to 2040, 17 years, every library is gonna need something there. And so everyone here, no matter where you are in the city, can be thinking of those and sort of more focused opportunities of improvements we're calling strategic investments. One of the ways we've done this, and one of the main tools we've used for delivering a plan that is equitable, is to look at how people use libraries, and that how many of you use more than one library? Okay, that's probably about half to 2/3 of this room, and that's about what we're seeing in community use as well. And so we did customer mapping back in the framework plan, and from that we said that there were zones in which people tended to travel, 6 zones, and we've used that for planning. So that allows us to, gives us tools to measure the types of resources we're providing geographically to make sure that everyone has access to those resources in an equitable fashion. So if we look on this chart on the bottom is the population distribution by those zones. If it's wider, it's more population by it. And square foot per capita is the basic measure that determines that you have space resources for it. So how many people are generally living in a zone, how many square feet do you have? And you can see that there are some modest differences between the zones, their height, about how much square foot. So the zones that are less square foot per capita have a slightly greater need to get up into our range for branches between 0.35 and 0.45 square foot per capita. We each get a little square for us. So in the plan, we have two sets of two-page spreads. One is for each of the zones here, and in each of the zones we talk about the sort of assessment in that zone, one of the basic things that is in huge demand is meeting rooms. So how many big meeting rooms do you have, media and group study rooms, idea labs, other important programs, where are they, and how many else do you need? A little discussion about it. We look at the technology needs, Carson Block, because this is important, as I'm sure you have collections of the type of technology customers need, and they vary by, it's intuitive, but some people need just more places to plug in, and other people need more space for the technology and more infrastructure as well. And then here are the recommendations for each of the branches. Then we get to a branch spread here, so every single library, including the net new proposed libraries, gets a two-page spread. It identifies what zone it's in. We'll talk about the maintenance needs of it, talks about a little bit of its history, an aerial photograph, some of the highlights of what we heard in the community outreach, love, change, or add, and the recommendations. It also talks about the climate action impacts and whether it's has solar panels already, is solar ready, or still needs an assessment of that. And we have a service score. And all of this was designed to help fit into the city's CIP and project evaluation process to give the library tools to advance these projects well. So this matches rules update and projects underway. And again, just kudos to you and the city. Like, there's a big needs, and this plan definitely, unashamedly says we need to get a lot more resources to do a lot more. That's great, but you guys we work in other large cities, and they haven't built a library in a decade, and other pieces. So you guys have a good track record, and we like to say it creates sort of branch envy, like, so that people say, hey, when do I get my project as well? So very exciting is that the models that have been if you ask anyone sort of in other cities, what is the model for new construction relocation, you think, well, it's a standalone library. And you have wonderful examples of great 21st century new libraries like Mission Hills, Hillcrest, Knox, with underbuilding parking. I recommend that in a number of locations because land is so precious. You still need ways to get there. In San Ysidro, the wonderful variety of spaces. Friends are in every single library space allocation here. The bigger libraries allow for more Friends spaces. And there are new models such as the City Heights, which is co-located with parks and other facilities. There are opportunities for more partnerships with parks going forward. And we have a housing crisis, frankly, here in the city. The mayor, council are very committed to looking for ways of libraries, possibly library sites or libraries being located with in housing, in this example, in Santa Cruz. And there are many others. So this is the listing of our new construction or relocations, big projects. The A+, G+ are course grades from E3. These are just the per zone, which new libraries we're having, and the general strategy for those. On the map, if it has a little triangle by it, that's suggesting it needs to relocate for it to make it a little bit easier. And we're not talking about ocean branches. We didn't know where they're going to be yet, so we didn't want to, even at this high level, we drop it, someone's going to figure out where that is and say, is that a good site or not? So we're out in the ocean for the new locations. So our renovations and expansions, you have a number of them which really are have a lot of opportunity for expanding, which is very exciting. And those are, you've done many expansions in the past, and again, to take these up to the recommendation where possible, getting up to 25,000 square feet is the new standard that we're recommending. It's been, well, we're reaffirming that standard. It's been established previously. Where you can do it, that's great. There are other sites where if you get up to 20,000 or even 15,000, it's still worth doing. Makeovers, a number of locations for those here, and those makeovers can make a huge difference in your experience. And then just a little bit on capital maintenance, because we sort of live with it, and it's a little bit using the facility condition. It has an FCI, Facility Condition Index, and it's nationwide sort of established methodology. It gives you a percentage, and if you're over 20%, you're getting into fair condition, and over 30% you're poor. And this is based on 2016. What they did have is data here that let us color code each of the different symbols of roof, HVAC, furniture, etc. by when does it need to be renewed. So if it's already red, it needs to be renewed now. If it's orange, soon. Yellow, still in the planning frame. If it's green, you probably have longer for it. So as you flip through the pages here, and you realize there are a lot of backlog of maintenance needs. And so it's worth spending just an extra minute here pointing out that for the capital maintenance, I said there's maintenance needs on, you'll see it on every page, but if the project's getting a renovation, it's going to be part of that. So the renovation expansion assumes capital maintenance. If it's makeover, that means it's generally, there might be some select ongoing maintenance needed, but that isn't the highest and most critical need for it. And if there are branches like the Claremonts, Balboa and North Claremont, that are small and mighty in need of capital maintenance, but we're proposing a new branch there, we want to build that and see how that affects people's use patterns. And from there, then reevaluate what is needed. So we're going to maintain the building, do regular maintenance, but not necessarily invest millions into something that then sort of isn't the best investment of limited dollars. And then anyone who doesn't have the other aspects, the strategic investments, which could be lighting, could be technology, it could be other piece of landscape and garden work, those are great opportunities there. So of course, the Central Library is only 10 years old. We share almost the same birthday here when it opened. It's a beautiful landmark building. A detailed assessment really wasn't necessary yet and wasn't part of our scope, but the facility condition assessments identify that there are, in the natural course of things, a big building which is worth so much has a lot of capital maintenance that needs to be invested over time, and within the 2040 time window, it's in the was estimated in 2016 of being up to 52 million just for the type of maintenance. And so you go, oh boy, we're going to have to. The city's got just to keep this building looking great. And while we're at it, there are all sorts of recommendations to keep on updating it, to do the sort of makeovers of select areas. The staff model that this library was designed for, it's a 10-year-old building, but its planning started 10 years before that, so it's got the ideation and the DNA from 20 years back. And so there's really opportunities that will make this building continue to sing and support the whole city. So that is the quick wrap up. I think it went a little bit long, apologize for that, but happy to then open it up to however you would like. Wendy?
Yeah, great job, David. Thank you. And just, I really want to acknowledge you and Jill and Carson and team. When we started this process, and again, many of you, as Patrick said, were in this room right before the pandemic. We thought, what would that look like? What would that mean? And I thought, my goodness, this is a huge project. How the heck is anyone going to do this? So G4 has done an amazing job. Thank you really to our library staff. When I think back to the listening tour and you look at all of those dates, I said that their listening tour dates would rival any major pop singer like Taylor Swift. I mean, every night, every weekend, really the amount of outreach to all the different communities, it was so fantastic. So I just want to, again, thank and acknowledge your team. Kudos. Thank you to our library staff. Thank you to our Library Foundation and our friends, because I know everyone has been working together to get us where we are today. It is absolutely incredible. I love the analogy compared to a GPS, right? It's just not a map. It's going to be, I don't know, outdated or something that sits on a shelf. This is a living and breathing document, and it's just very, very exciting. So kudos, and really kudos to your team. And I will open it up for questions. Okay, yes.
Yeah, first of all, I would like to echo what you said. All of you who put this together and conceptualized it, my sincere congratulations. I think there's so much there. I have one process question and one content question. The process question has to do with the comments, the comment period, which of necessity is fairly short. I'm just trying to sense what the timetable will be once comments are received. What is the plan at this point in terms of timing to move forward toward the council, toward the council committee?
So I think we're, have a 30-day window, which is the sort of standard process to go to the council committee, and then there's, ideally will be on the next agenda after that. And I think these are all public sessions too, and have their own meeting opportunities to give additional input.
Yes.
There as well.
Yes, and I can expand on that. So we are planning, so we have this today, and then we are planning on taking it to the Community Neighborhood CNS Committee, Council Committee. So, which is Community Neighborhood Services Committee. It's a new committee. We're taking it there still in draft form, right? So all of these comments that we're getting in this next 30-day period, as well as what we anticipate the council members may add additional comments. And then they're gonna incorporate, and then we're taking the final report to council, hopefully in November. So that's the timing.
The content question, we pointed out early, and I think it made a lot of sense, that there can't be timetables for some of the major work or even some of the minor work. But I'm wondering whether there has been any discussion about at least what the order, the priorities are. For instance, my home library, by the way, with the Friends of the North Park Library, and we're one that's the recommendation is for a rebuild on the existing site. I believe there are like maybe 7 libraries that are in the rebuild either on the existing site or elsewhere. And obviously it is of some interest to us as to whether we are going to be number 1 or number 7 or somewhere in between. And I'm just wondering, first of all, has there been any discussion about that? And are there any, if not, are there any plans to try to build this in somewhat earlier? Because I can envision either that we, particular constituency, may be very satisfied, or we may be looking, since this is a multi-year plan, on something that may be 10, 15, 20 years down the road.
Yeah, it's totally hear the question, and what's the almost everyone in the community is going to say, okay, when will our project happen? And that is the right question, and we want you not, I don't want to discourage you from advocating for number 1 too, because that may help advocate for overall funding. We did take a citywide approach to this, and the lenses that we were using is that it's not which friends group or community is the most active, but we really look through the equity lens for it, where those projects are and where the needs and the deficits are. So we don't have a priority list per se. That's another document there, just the framework tools that can be used to evaluate based on how many resources you have.
Thank you.
Great question. Other questions or comments?
I again will applaud all of you for this, undertaking this project. It is an amazing document, and it's a framework for our needs. So well done. There's a ton of information in there. It's accessible. I really had fun looking through it. Learned lots of stuff. But understanding our needs is really a first step. Now what happens? And we know, all of us, that funding is really hard to come by. So we need to expand our resources. This is motivation for us to forge on ahead. So I wonder, is a funding master plan the next step? And that seems to maybe follow on, because it's nice to look at all of our dreams, but let's do something about it. But on another path, I think there's another important question, which is there consensus for some of the conclusions in here? I mean, if you send these out to friends groups around the city or to other planning groups and communities? Do they agree with the experts, or do they have some ideas of their own? I think it's very important to have a feedback circle now, and the council may approve this, and this may be our official document, but it's just the beginning, I think. So I like the idea of zones, and I think that's a great idea. And that can be a good tool, particularly when we're talking about equity, and which is an important notion in the city. But what needs to be done first? How do we prioritize? Those are huge questions, and they're messy, and they're exciting, and they're good questions, and I think we need to forge on ahead and take this as an inspiration more than a complete project. Thank you.
Great comment. Any other questions or comments from our audience or commissioners? A moment to ponder. Okay. Well, I would again just like to thank you for all of your efforts, and it's really, really exciting as I've been mulling about this and chatting with Misty, and just again hearing their presentation. I think what might work best is I would recommend that we as commissioners read the report and then consider approving a letter of endorsement at our next meeting. So we have that thoughtful time to read through. As mentioned, it's on the website, and there's opportunities for the community to make comments and have questions. But for now, I would like to move approval to move the draft, forward to CNS. And so, I think I got the acronym right. Is that right?
Yes.
CNS. Thank
CNS
you.
So moved.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Badley. Do I have all in favor? Say aye. Any opposed? Okay. Motion carries to move the draft forward. Thank you again, David.
Thank you.
Wonderful job.
Thank you.
so much. And thank you to our community for your thoughtful questions and input, and coming to many of these meetings and asking the questions. And I know when our library staff and foundation gets questions of on the friends, when's my turn? We love that, because we know you're passionate, and for many of us that have been with the library for a million years, it seems like when we were back in the old building, as a community member, we're asking those questions too. So it's really exciting that we're moving in the right direction. And again, just kudos to our staff and to all of our volunteers. There's always ways you can get involved, answering surveys, becoming a Friends member, becoming a Lifetime Friends member, contributing to the foundation, thanking your library staff, because they really go above and beyond every single day. So thank you for that. All right, is there? Yes, please, Misty,
So
please add.
I
Yes.
also wanted to thank you, and Ben, I believe you were also when Claudia Thompson came and spoke about Oak Park being left out of the original master plan, and that really is what set this off, and the commission recommending that we do a new master plan. So thank you for kind of spearheading, and to the foundation for funding it and making sure that it got through the process. It really has been a long, strange trip, but it's been fun, and we've learned a lot. And as we said, we will send you the link. We will send all of you the link to the plan. We were going to print it out, and it's 109 pages, so we didn't want to kill a lot of trees. And in color. So, so we will make sure that you have it. And as Wendy said, then we will bring at the next meeting a draft of a letter for you all to an endorsement letter to attach to the final report. So.
Great. Wonderful. Well, really exciting. It's like the baby that's been, in the oven for a very, very long time with a little pandemic.
It's an elephant baby.
It's an elephant.
That's the same thing I was thinking.
I tell you, wasn't it 2019? It felt like it was just yesterday, 25 years ago at the same time. So thank you everyone for sticking with us. Is there any other business? If not, if I just may add, I just wanted to take a moment again, I know we did it at the beginning, I wanted to make sure that we had time to welcome our newest commissioner and maybe just give Pat just a quick 30 seconds or 1 minute elevator pitch. Tell us about you. I've read your bio, but I'm really excited to have you and just let you introduce yourself to the rest of the commissioners and to our community.
Thank you very much. This is an exciting opportunity for me. It's something new, and I am a forever student, so I'm enjoying it. But basically, I am retired. I retired from the County of San Diego and Child Welfare Services as a manager. I originally from Mississippi. I worked for the county for like 25 years, and in that capacity, promoting up through the ranks. I have a bachelor's degree in psychology, a master's degree, of course, in social work. I am the mother of a daughter, and I have 2 grandsons, and my husband is a retired veteran, so I think that's a good wrap-up. And I'm on, of course, now I'm with the Friends of Oak Park Library. I am the VP there, and I'm hoping that Alita never ever gives it up. I don't want the job. And I'm also chairing the Community Advisory Committee on the new library.
We are very excited to have you. Congratulations on your retirement, but as I've heard from everyone that's retired, whenever you're retired, you just get busier. So
Yes.
thank you for spending part of your busy time with us on the commission. It's a
Yeah.
very special group of folks involved with the library, so we're glad to have you.
I just want to let everyone know